man. The recording, some days the recording takes a minute to kick in. Folks, we have made it to the end of season 16. This is episode 12, which is wrapping us up at the end of our spring season here in the year of our Lord 2026. We're taking a look ahead toward convention season, and to that end, we had attempted to assemble a distinguished panel of guests, and somehow I snuck in as well. So what we've got from left to right on your radio dial, our buddy David Thompson is back. David, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And our buddy Tim Densham is back also. Tim, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And a new voice for the podcast, but not a new friend of the Dragoons, because we've worked with him on all kinds of stuff over the years. Mr. Byron Collins from Collins Epic War Games is here. Byron, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
We're going to take a look forward at conventions coming up. Before we get too deep into that, Byron, as we are recording this, Adepticon's only like 5 days behind you or so. How was the show? You were showing off a new game that's coming up for pre-order. You got a bunch of your...
Yeah, well, we were actually showing off 4 new games. The 2 of them I haven't even announced. Yeah, which is great.
You have now.
I have now, so you can be the first to know, but officially. But no, we had our biggest push right now is Oasis, which is a 6mm sci-fi. It's all sci-fi. All the stuff I'm doing right now is sci-fi. But tactical salvage reclamation war game. It's really cool. The designer is Dale Ada, who's the founder of Hardware Studios, that put out a lot of terrain and a lot of cool stuff and he sculpted for BattleTech. I mean, he sculpted all the models for this game, and he's had it just working on it for 8 years or so. And wow. We linked up at Nova in the fall, and I saw him demoing the game, and I'm like, this is amazing. Let's talk about it. And here we are. So at Adepticon, we actually had a limited release of models. We had we working with Death Ray Designs that makes Steel Rift, and they did a nice little beta release for us. We got it together just in time, took it to the show, and pretty much sold out.
Oh, that's good.
Which was amazing. And then it's just been blowing up from there. I mean, we've had media coverage from everywhere. Ash Barker, we've got he's about to drop a video. We've had we had podcast interviews. We had a lot of stuff getting posted.
The guys from Goonhammer were wandering around there somewhere.
Yeah, Goonhammer is actually interviewing Dale this week.
Okay.
And then we have we had a staff writer from Wargamer.com in the UK came by and is going to do an article.
Wait. So Wargamer.com actually does war games again?
I don't know. Well, they were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the site that had the 300 spicy truth or dare questions for date night article.
No, I haven't seen that.
Not that long ago.
Anyway, we did really well and had a great time. We ran 86 events across 5 different game systems.
Wow.
And had 4 different GMs that were the designers of those games there. So that's Oasis. That's the big thing. We've got a game found in July. Really looking forward to it. There's a preview page up already. Just search Oasis or oasiswargame.com. But then we're also was pretty excited to, which you might like, Brant, is this fleet space battles. It's a kind of carrier warfare inspired space battle game, tactical game called Orion Front.
Oh wow!
And it's awesome. The designer is Teddy Lindsay, okay, who is a creator of Martian models, who's made a lot of really cool ship models. Small ship models but they're like carriers and frigates and all these things. Really, really cool for like other games like Billion Suns and so forth.
Yeah.
And then he's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do my own system. And it's really, really, really awesome. So we showed that, and it was very well received, and everything he brought sold out, which was a little bit of stuff, but it's still, we can say that it sold out.
Hey, you still sold out.
So we're doing that, and then we did 2 other games. One is Downsync, which is a hidden movement, like sci-fi 15 game, a little larger scale, that's in beta. And then we also did a preview, which I haven't even posted anything about, for a game that's an alt 1948 history airships game. So it's an airships war game called Angle of Attack that we're working on with the designer is really passionate about. He's sculpted all these beautiful airships, painted them all up, ran demos the entire show. Everybody loved it. So
I'll be honest, that one interests me more than the sci-fi fleet map.
right, I knew it would, so I saved it for
airship
last.
sounds cool.
It's cool. So yeah, it was busy, and we drove, so it was 1,850 miles round trip.
Yeah.
To take all the stuff and get back, and it's exhausting, but it's well worth it. It's really a fun show. Yeah, we had a good time.
One of these days, I might try and figure out a way to get to Adepticon just to go be a tourist and just see cool shit.
It's a good time.
So, for those that don't know, so first of all, as we are recording this, it's not yet live, but as you are listening to it on our site, Jim Ozarski's wrap up of Adepticon is posted on our site with a whole bunch of different pictures, including some of Byron's tables that Jim snagged while he was there. So there's an Oasis photo and a Polyversal photo, and so Byron's rattling off all these games, and he talked about Polyversal, which is sort of a flagship game that
that's right. Oh, and by the way, that was there.
Yeah. So well, cool. It sounds like it was a really good show. It sounds like it was a good time, and I'm glad you guys sold out of a bunch of stuff. So that's
yeah, it was good.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
As we are now looking forward, by the time you're hearing this, we will be back from it. David, you're going to be at Circle DC this weekend, right?
Yep.
I will see you there. I am driving up Saturday, driving home Sunday. I'm only spending the one night. I wasn't taking any time off of work, and it doesn't make sense to drive up Friday just to sit in traffic and get there at the end of the day. So that was dumb. So I'm driving up Saturday morning. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday, and Tim is bailing out on us because
he's got a good reason.
Yeah, he's got a reason.
Good excuse.
Yeah. So, David, Circle DC is coming up. We'll talk about it a bit, but you've also got. Is this going to be considered the debut of Night Witches now that it's officially on pre-order, or what's?
Well, I mean, so it is officially on pre-order. We were hoping to have essentially like a pre-production copy there, but I don't think they're going to make it in time.
Yeah.
So I think Liz is actually doing the War Game Wednesday thing at Labyrinth tomorrow.
Okay.
But I think she's bringing maybe some prototype level mock-ups of the game. Yeah. So so the pre-production copies won't be there, but yeah, pre-orders did go live I think within the last week or so, and I know Kevin's like pushing to do that so that the game does, he's basically ready to hit print pretty soon.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for folks that don't know, Night Witches is a co-design between David and Liz Davidson that covers the Russian women, Soviet women, get our terminology correct here.
That's right. Important distinction right now.
They were in flying jalopies and rust buckets, but, shooting the hell out of the Nazis out there on the East Front. And so I played this thing with you at Buckeye Game Fest probably like 3 years ago at this point. That, it can be played solo or co-op, but you are building the map as you fly across it and unfold the map, where you've got your aircraft and you are aiming for whatever targets you're after. But as you build the map, there may be searchlights or flak that you've got to avoid as a part of it all. It's some really neat mechanics as you're trying to, again, kill Nazis and make it home alive. So some great tension in that game.
Yeah, we're both. I mean, obviously, it won't be her first printed game. Like Queen of Spies will be out before Night Witches, just because of the way it's played out. But this is obviously Liz's first design, so we're both super excited about it. Right? We had a great time working on it together, and it has taken a very, very, very long time just because of the art, the timeline for the art. But we're both really proud and excited about it. So it's inching towards reality.
Yeah. I think we're all looking forward to seeing it when it finally gets there. So Circle DC is the next one that you've got on your calendar.
Yep, that's right.
As we are recording, but not as people are listening. What's the next one on your calendar after that? Is it Origins or is there something in between?
No, it'll be Origins. Yeah. So it'll be Circle DC, and then the only thing I've got. So Circle DC is gonna be kind of fun for me because we're not demoing Night Witches because we don't have the pre-production copy. Non-Breaking Space and I are gonna be meeting Kevin to talk about 5th Platoon at Circle DC because it's not official or whatever. But I mean, he's gonna be the publisher for 5th Platoon. But other than that meeting, for me, it's just all playing games. So I'm super excited just to be able to go and play games for one. But yeah, next after that will be Origins.
Yeah. All right. And so Tim, you have Open the Store Con coming up here imminently, but in terms of actual game conventions, I know you're going to be there at Origins. What else do you have on your summer calendar coming up?
That is my number one priority is Origins. I am looking after the start of brand new Game Store Con. For those of you trying to figure out what we're talking about here, I'm opening a game store in conjunction with a bookstore in my hometown of Middleville, Michigan. Population 5,000 whatever, salute.
12.
Yeah, it's more than that, but not much more. And so that is my focus for the next few weeks. Then Origins. And then after that, I'm going to kind of play it by ear. I would love to go to WBC, and I've got a buddy who's going there. So if I can make that, I want to go to WBC. And then after that, there's all sorts of question marks of going into the fall. Traditionally, I've gone to UConn, which is a tiny little con in Ypsilanti. I'm not sure I'm going to make that yet. Christopher and I are still trying to figure out looking into the tea leaves and trying to figure out what happens this fall. But my focus right now, as it is every year, is going to be Origins.
Yeah. And we appreciate you making it a focal point. That is very helpful.
Yes.
So
thank you for making that easy for me there, Bayonet Brandt.
UConn, I mean, you're only, not even an hour from UConn, are you?
It's about 2 hours. I'm on the west side of the state, and they're over on the east side, so between here to going to here, for those of you in Michigan, we can use
for the
that,
folks who don't know, UConn is held in Ypsilanti, and UConn is more of a general purpose game convention, right? I mean, it's mostly stuff, but
yep,
there's a lot of others.
What Christopher and I have discovered is if you're the only guy bringing historical games there, you gather a lot of attention. And granted, what pays the bills there is he brings up a lot of stuff from Capstone, so that helps too. But I sell as much as he does as far as historical game products because there's no one else there doing it.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yep.
That's good. Byron, as you're looking forward into the summer, Historicon, your next big one. What do you got coming up here?
No, actually, early May 1st and 2nd is a little show called Richmond Open. You should check it out. It's fun. They're in their 5th year. They started downtown and they moved further up north to a place called Doswell, right off 95.
Okay.
Right in middle of Virginia. It's great. It's only about an hour and some change for us. And I don't even go to do a booth. I go to run games and have fun, and it's a blast. So I like it. It's primarily Warhammer crowd, like Warhammer tournament crowd, right? Which is how you create a lot of conventions like that. But they are drawing others now, which is a good thing, and it's growing. So yeah, I'll be demoing primarily. The only thing I'm taking there is Oasis, and I'll be demoing 4 events per day, Friday and Saturday. Each of them are an hour and a half, with a big display and just having fun. And then I do know that our buddy Andy and Matt Andy has planned this, and he ran it last year. He's doing it again this year on Friday. He ran and built, 3D printed all this stuff for a 12-foot by 4-foot game board of Polyversal, which is a 3-zone city assault with amphibious ships and a city portion and then suburbs, and it's just crazy stuff. It's really, really cool. So we'll be doing that again this year, and I want to see that again because it's just a lot of fun to see.
And this will be at the Richmond?
That'll be at Richmond, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my next one.
That sounds cool. So first of all, you get a 12-foot by 4-foot minis table, and it's going to look pretty damn cool just for the sheer scale of it all.
Really cool.
But when you're talking about, something like Polyversal that's typically scaled at 6mm minis, that's a pretty epically large fight that you're fitting on a 12 by 4 there.
And he breaks it up into 3 zones, and it's 2 players per 4-foot by 4-foot zone, and they interact, and affect each other, which is really cool. Ultimately 2 sides, but independently kind of working in the different zones. So it's really slick. So I'm looking forward to seeing it again. It's up to, I think it handles 6 to 8 players, something like that. It's a big game, but it is fun to see.
I know at various points in time, all of us have been working conventions as well as just showing up and playing games and having fun. And as David mentioned, like he's going to get to just go play games at Circle DC. Although look, dude, you were just playing games at Buckeye Game Fest.
Buckeye Game Fest is special. That's why I love it so much.
I know. I was in at least one of them with you. So, and Tim was GMing, teaching, testing a whole bunch of games at BGF.
And playing games, yeah.
and managed to, play a couple in between all that. So outside of the whole, let's just show up as tourists and go play games, we've all worked different conventions as well. Whether it's in a retail booth or supporting someone's retail booth or, running events or whatever it may have been. As you're looking at the different kinds of conventions that you get pulled into, because for Byron and Tim, it's sort of where do you choose to show up as a publisher and which conventions are you targeting? David, I think for you, it's more where are you supporting publishers who are releasing your games?
Yeah.
As you're looking ahead at the conventions that you're trying to target, and I know this is dependent on what you're doing there, so throw that in as well. But Tim, start with you. As you're looking at the conventions where you may have more of an event presence versus more, some sort of booth or sales presence, what are the things that you're thinking most about as you're planning for that convention, and sort of how are you defining success for that convention as you're making your plans for it?
Well, up until recently, my biggest concern is trying to get, I guess my biggest concern is always trying to go and find a way to sell more product because I'm a publisher. But a lot of these, go figure, right? But a lot of these places up until recently, I was looking to find potential games that I might sign or contract to add to the list of games that I would publish. As it looks right now, I've got so many backed up right now, and I've got so many designs that I want to work on myself. I don't think I need to do that anymore. So one of the reasons why it was easy, I mean, yes, I am opening up a game store the same weekend as Circle DC, but I was telling some of the other guys, one of the reasons why I'm not brokenhearted about not going there is if I went there, I'd probably see some really cool games and I'd be tempted to go and try to get a contract. And I don't need to do that because that's just going to make my life worse. So it's maybe a good thing I'm not going there because I'd see a really cool game like, I think I should try to go and publish that. But I have got so much on my plate right now, and the ideas just keep coming already. And so anyhow, going back to what you originally said, that's one of the things that I was looking at. Now, one of the things I like to do is I like to get some good feedback from people I trust to look at the games that I'm pushing out and finding out whether I've got my concepts all lined up. So, hanging out with people like, I don't know, David Thompson and running through my urban scenario for True Command and seeing whether the Kyiv map makes sense. Or Kharkiv map. So anyhow, that's kind of where I'm at right now. That's one of the reasons why I like going to Buckeye Game Fest is because I get to like hang out with some really cool people in a very chill environment and get lots of really good feedback. So I know a lot of people on your podcast have plugged going to Buckeye Game Fest already. I don't need to do that anymore, but that's a really great experience there. I have gotten a lot of great experiences and feedback and seen some really interesting game ideas going to Circle DC. I've always wanted to go to SD HisCon, and I've just never made it out that far because of this, that, and the other thing. Every once in a while, cancer enters our life. But beyond that, I do want to go out there for the same reasons that I got, the benefits that I got from going to Circle DC. But that's what I try to get out of that. So I guess, try to plug the games, get some play testing, and find new games. Those are my top
Let's
three.
face it, you want to go to Circle DC because it's in November and you live in Michigan, and you'd rather be in San Diego in November than Michigan, huh?
I love the fall in Michigan. Maybe not November as much, definitely October. October, I don't want to be anywhere else but Michigan because the weather is just so great. I do not want to be in the South in the summer, which for me is like March through October. So I do not want to go anywhere near that. I've lived that life before. I actually did boot camp in San Diego, so I would love to go back. It was wonderful weather. So
David, contrast that. So Tim's got games that he's looking for feedback on as a publisher who's developing games when he's not like running a booth and trying to sell stuff. You're more working a booth for the publishers who are, because you're not publishing your own games, right? You're selling to kinds of publishers. Yeah. So how do you approach conventions where you're working? Not ones like VGF where you're just playing and having fun, but ones where you're working that you've got, whether it's specific time commitments or teaching commitments for I got to show off this game, or the publishers lined you up to demo to some content folks. How do you approach those, and how's that mindset work?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it's certainly different depending on the convention, right? So the one extreme is Gen Con, which I would not go to Gen Con if it wasn't for Osprey being at Gen Con. And I'm super blessed. Every year since 2019, they've released one of my games around Gen Con. So I've gone there, and from the opening of the first day to the closing of the last day, I just stay in the booth. I demo the game, and when the con's over, I leave the vendor hall as quickly as I can and hang out with people outside the convention. And I never do anything at Gen Con, right? I hate it. Like, it's not for me. I'm not a Cult of the New guy. I have an exhibitor pass, and I can get in the exhibitor hall early, and I still don't go in there before people are there, right? Like, it's just not for me. But that's just to support them. So, support me, support them, etc. You've got the middle ground conventions like Origins, right? Where I will spend part of my time this year. I'll spend part of my time in Armchair Dragoons doing different demos of different games. I do have a game releasing at Origins this year, so it's a little bit unusual. So I'll be at that publisher's booth. That's Bitewing, releasing Moitora. So I'll spend some time there. But there are people that I only ever get to see at Origins. So for sure, I try to make time. But really, it's like we talked about before, like SD-HistCon and Circle DC really the reason I'm there is to see my friends. That's first and foremost. Like, if I don't play a game, that's okay. I just want to hang out with my friends that I only get to see 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah. And then it's interesting. It's interesting how things have changed over time. It used to be, when I first started designing, I was going to places like Spiel to pitch games, but I never really pitch games at a convention anymore, right? Like, I might be going to meet with the publisher to talk about a game, but because of our industry, the way it's set up, thankfully, you're able to make meetings and stuff and pitch games outside of the old traditional go to a convention, set a meeting with a publisher, pitch them a game in a horrible environment that's not conducive to pitching, so that's changed. But yeah, it really just depends on the convention.
Yeah. I do know that for a bunch of us that do a bunch of the same conventions every year, there can be a bit of a family reunion feel.
Oh yeah,
those conventions.
Yeah, 100%.
And if this isn't one of the video clips we excerpt as you are hearing this, everybody is nodding along with that statement. That really does get to be a bit of a vibe, because we're the folks that you look forward to seeing at conventions, that you're hanging out with at conventions, David, like you said, they're friends, right? We've got stuff in common. We're friends. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. And when you only get to do that in person a couple times a year, like you value that time that you get to do that. And so that's always nice to be able to do. Byron, coming back around to you. So you've got conventions like Richmond Open, where you said, it's going to be all events. You're not setting up a booth or anything as a vendor presence. But then you've got stuff like Adepticon, where you kind of did a bunch of both. How do you sort of decide where you're taking the whole booth to sell stuff, where you're bringing the store metaphorically, versus I'm just showing up and playing games and teaching people how to play stuff, and kind of what defines success for you in each of those cases?
Right. So a few things, factors just in general. One is, I'm not doing this full time, so I have a full-time job. So big factor is schedule. Like, does the schedule line up with me being able to take off work to go do work? And do I really want to go do work in my time off? And, so it depends on the show, right? If the show is large enough and has the right audience, like Adepticon, then yes, right? But then there's shows that are too big, like Gen Con, and it's a no, because it's just logistically so painful to get out there and go do it. And it's very expensive, and you're in a sea of people. So there's like there's a happy medium of size and logistics, ease, and proximity, and does it work with the schedule, and what's the sales potential? Is it the right audience? It's all marketing. You're there to connect with people, and I've been going to like some of these for a long time, and it's great. And you see people that come up, and they're just like, you know them. And it's great. And they're either past customers, or they become friends, or other publishers, other vendors, the staff. Another big factor is, how good is it to work with the staff and of the show? Like, how easy is it to work with the Adepticon folks? And I can tell you that they're the best. They're absolutely some of the best as far as communication and just telling you everything you need to know, setting it up, making it easy. not making you sit in a marshalling yard for 3 hours while you're waiting to unload a trailer if you've driven for 12 and a half, 13 hours, right? So
Amen.
it just depends, right? And then also GM support. Like, how many of the designers can come out and help me out? Because if I'm selling at the booth, I'm not selling at the booth. The people doing the selling are the people who are demonstrating the game in an event. And that's what I found works really well is, if I can bring out the designers, and they can go demo their game. One, they're very passionate about it because it's their game. They know it the best. And then they can really better show it off while I'm working booth stuff. And then people can go have fun in a like an example, we had kind of a dedicated space at Adepticon that was a bunch of, basically half of a room, and we filled it up, and it was full of people, and it was full of wait list people, and all the designers were in one place. Everybody was having a great time. And, after the show each day, we get a beer and complain about our lost voices and do it again the next day, and so that's a good show. But then even the small shows are a lot of fun too, like Williamsburg Muster or Call to Arms, both local to me. I drive across town. If I don't have to get a hotel, that if that lowers my cost, and even if it's 4, 5, 600 people, it's still a good time. And I don't care as much. Like, okay, is it logistically hard? No, but I know all the people, right? And so you go there and you just connect with everybody and you say, hey, good to see you again, and let's play a game, and let's just have fun. And so it's just those are some of the factors for me.
I should know this because it's in my town, but is playthrough still going on? Are they still holding that one? I know you were there one year.
I went there one year. It was down in Raleigh, right? And it was a weird one. It was great. It was when it was first starting, and it was kind of mixed for me because I don't think they knew really what they were as a con, right? And they were, because it was video games mixed with board games mixed with all this other stuff, and I'm like, it's kind of too much going on. I mean, it's great staff, great experience going down there, but it wasn't one I wanted to keep going to. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just
my impression of playthrough. So I've been to 2 of them, and my impression of playthrough seems to be that they were so concerned with having a lot of people in the building that they tried to be all things to all people,
right,
instead of picking something to focus on and then slowly expanding the oil spot from there. And and for folks that don't know, like Raleigh, actually, this area has a bunch of video game studios. I mean, Epic Games is based here. For folks that don't know, the Fortnite guys, that their headquarters is here. There's a big there was a big Ubisoft office here. I'm not sure if it still is. Red Storm had an office here. The folks that made the Temple Run, whatever that is, super popular like 10, 12 years ago, they're based on the north side of town here. I mean, there's like 10 or 12 video game studios that all make stuff you've heard of that are all based here or have big subsidiaries here. Going beyond just the next immediate target, like here with the Dragoons, we've got Origins coming up that we're doing our big stuff at, that David and Tim will be joining us at, and Byron's been a part of in the past. That as we're rolling forward from there, I don't know that we're going to have any of our folks at WBC. David, we're not going to be at Gen Con to come wave at you for many of the reasons you would rather not be there. But it's once we get past that into the fall, like we've got our fall assembly coming up in October. Before that, the Triangle Sim Society down here holds their Southern Front convention, which is primarily historical minis. Although Byron, you might find a bit of an audience for some of the sci-fi mini stuff, because they've had a wide variety of things there over the years. That is your classic small 1 hotel ballroom, 10 tables in it, just keep games on them the whole time, all weekend long. They'll get between 150, 200 people roll through there over the course of the weekend. And it is all mini stuff. You might see 1 board game the whole time you're there. But they're cool. Like minis are all, the cool thing about going to minis war game conventions is you will be visually impressed by the things you were seeing. And after that, I have no idea what, if anything, the Dragoons will be supporting or what I might appear at. Tim, I'm not coming to UConn. Sorry. Just a little far out of the way.
Come up to Nova.
I got to take a look at the scheduling.
Yeah, it's in Labor Day weekend. It's in DC. It's not bad.
Yeah.
4,000 people last time.
Wow.
remember. Yeah,
That's-
primarily miniatures, but it's a good show. It's
Yeah.
a good time.
I don't mind being a tourist at a minis-con because, somebody's always got some minis that they're willing to let somebody else play with, which is fine. As I've joked about many times before, I am more than happy to play a miniatures game with your toys. I don't have the time in my life to sit there and do the arts and crafts that you need for the minis stuff, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's understood.
Yeah. So, David, looking past Gen Con, are you going back to San Diego? No yet?
Well, there's an important convention before Gen Con that we haven't talked about. That's SD HistCon North.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about SD North.
Yeah. So that's the weekend of like July 10th, 11th, whatever that is.
Yeah. You see, I can't go, so I didn't care.
I'm super excited about it. As a matter of fact, Harold won't let me get away with this, but I'm not sure I can go to both, and I'm definitely going to North. So it means that I might miss the next one in San Diego, but I'm excited. It's up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So that's the next one for me that it's after Origins, before Gen Con, and I will say that one convention I'd like to go to someday is WBC, but I'll never be able to go to it because it's always right like within a weekend of Gen Con.
Yeah.
So I'll always miss it. But SD Hist North is.
You're going to retire one of these days, aren't you?
I would, man. Yeah. Yes, that would be nice. Because, Byron mentioned this. I mean, this is the huge limiting factor for me is every one of these conventions means I have to take leave, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. It's not the financial cost. It's
the passion too.
The leave, yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that one because I know a lot of the folks listening will be interested. Maybe they're going. Maybe they're interested in it. We'll see how well it does, and maybe we can have another one next year.
Yeah. Well, and I think if SD Hist East had still been able to happen, or that had been held on the campus at the Naval War College up in Rhode Island, they were no longer able to use the facility because of some changes in government policy, which we're not going to get into here. We're just going to acknowledge government change policy. They couldn't use the building anymore. If that was still going on, I doubt Harold would have tried to do North also. I think that's kind of a replacement.
Yeah.
I do not have that from Harold at all. That's just my gut feeling of sort of how Harold approached that.
Yeah, I suspect. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. I haven't talked to Harold about it, but I think you're probably right. I don't think that the board could do all the work that would be entailed, putting 3 conventions together in 1 year. But yeah, I'm excited for it for sure. I've never been to Minneapolis. Well, that's not true. I went to Minneapolis when I was a little kid for a few weeks, but as an adult, I've not been there. So
I think I changed planes there once. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, I would love to go to that one as well, but it is right around WBC, and I can actually sell games at WBC, so it's hard for me not to go to that one. I just wish they had picked a different season to have that, because there's not like there's any other game conventions going on in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, but nobody wants to go to Minneapolis in February either.
No.
Right? I mean, so
okay, I would go. But.
Yeah, I think what ended up happening for SD Hist North, first of all, like pretty much every convention I go to, I drive to. Like not that I don't like flying. It's just more of a pain in the ass to fly than it is to get in my car and go. So if I can drive to them, I'm a lot happier. The issue with SD Hist North though is that it's too close to my daughter's birthday. Right. And so she's going to be in California visiting family, so I'm flying out there to join them for her birthday. And when your daughter's turning 16, the birthday's the priority. So sorry, Harold. Sorry, SD Hist. I'm going to be at Disneyland like a week or two later and celebrating my daughter's birthday. So going into the fall, though, David, if you're not doing the regular SD Hist, is there anything else you're going to try and fit in there? Any other local stuff? Anything down in Cincinnati you're going to try and hit?
No, well, and I will wind up going to SD Hist or West. I will, or in San Diego, whatever. I say that I won't, but I know for a fact I will. Even if I tried to get out of it, Harold would not let me. So I will go to that for sure. One thing I would like to go back to, I've been to it once. I'm going to talk about both sides of my mouth because one time I say I don't want to go to Gen Con. I would like to get back to PAX Unplugged at some point.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, but the problem
in Philly?
Yeah, in Philly.
Yeah,
I went in 2018 or 2019. I went the first year it existed, and I know it's blown up since then.
Yeah.
I had a really good time. I thought it was a really cool con. The problem is it's always the exact same weekend as when I have a guy's trip out into West Virginia, and there's like 15 of us, and all we do is play games and drink scotch and whiskey. So that's going to be PAX Unplugged, every time. So
yeah.
But at some point, I'd like to get out there again. But usually in the fall, it's just SD Hist. Yeah.
Take the guys and the whiskey to Philly with you. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
Just do it there.
it's true.
Tim, assuming, whether you make it to WBC or not, I'm assuming no on Gen Con, but what do you got for the rest of the year, looking beyond the summer as we roll into the fall?
Let me throw in there that I agree with what Byron and David have both said about Gen Con. It's a spectacle. So you got to go once, but I've been there a few times now, and now it's not as much as a spectacle as like, oh man, it's like worse than going to annual training for anybody who's been in the military and you got this big military deployment coming up. Like, oh, I got to go. I got to pack all this. I got to do all this. I got to spend all this money, which is something I never had to do in the military. And then, then I got to fight with the crowds. The idea of trying to go, like the last time I went was 2 years ago, and trying to fight through the crowds at the exhibit hall just to say, okay, I saw everything, was like, halfway through, I'm like, okay, I'm done. But then I had to leave. And then I was like, for those of you trying to or just listening, it's wall to wall people, literally. And so if you want to go I got to use the bathroom right now, it's going to be 20 minutes before you can worm your way literally to get to the bathroom. So there's no joy for me in that one. I know you can go and do other things alongside of that, but just everything that Byron was talking about just gave me bad flashbacks of when I had to go to these events with Academy Games. It was like the nightmare began 2 days beforehand when you had to pack, and then you had to get all the stuff there. Now you go to the marshalling yard. Here's your oh wait, you came at the wrong time. Well, you're supposed to be at another yard over there.
It's miserable.
Yeah, it is just agony.
I've done it twice.
Yeah. Yep.
As a vendor, it's terrible.
I've been to Gen Con 3 times total. Twice I was there on a press pass. I was there in 05 and 07 on a press pass. In 2006, I was working out of the Matrix Games booth back when David Heath still ran it.
Yeah.
And so I was on a vendor badge that year and had a good time. But 2005, 6, 7, it was half the size that it is now. Now, half the size that it is now is still fucking huge, right? Yeah. I mean, it's still like 45,000 people. It was still big, but it was not San Diego Comic-Con kind of big, right, which is what Gen Con has turned into. It's the San Diego Comic-Con of tabletop gaming at this point.
So I'd tell you, Brent, it was my very first show ever as an exhibitor.
Wow. Yeah.
And I do not ever wish that on anyone. to go start at Gen Con, please don't do that. Just find a local show and start there if you're thinking about doing this or even just attending. Just go to a local show and have fun. And then if you really want to subject yourself to a bunch of punishment, then go to Indianapolis the next year.
My first one ever as a vendor was Origins in 05.
Nice.
Which was a fairly, it was big, but it was a manageable big. Yeah. And
mine was 08. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, go ahead, Tim.
Let me tell you, the only reason why I keep going back to Origins is because you're running the Dragoons. If it was not for you having that set up there, I would not be going back there because I don't want to deal with all the rest of the stuff. By you running that, I can just go where's Brant? And I go right there, and then I camp out. I can leave my stuff there the whole time. I don't have to worry about it because now I'm home. This is home base, and I'm just going to hang out with the guys. I look around, to the left of me, there's David Thompson. There might be Ardwolf to the right, and it's like, these are my people, and I can hang out and do what I need to do here. And there's a little bit of work, Your daughter will pillory me if I don't go and turn in my event sheets on time, but I can deal with that. I've had worse, right?
Do your damn homework. You'll be fine.
I know it. But it is if it wasn't for you running that thing, I would have waved off that and just said, I'll go to Circle DC or I'll just go to the smaller cons because that is still kind of a pain in the ass.
At some point I'm going to hand off running the Wargame HQ to somebody else, right? I mean,
1, 2, 3, not it.
We're going to have to start getting other people involved here, especially if it gets too much bigger. We're going to need some other people involved with this. The thank you. It's very kind of you to say. I don't want listeners to get the wrong idea. I really don't think it's me. I think it's the fact that we've got somebody gathering up all the wargamers kind of in a rally point there, so that we've got a place that we can feel at home in a sea of folks that just don't give a shit about wargaming.
And that's what you don't have at a lot of other shows, right? I mean, you do a good job of that at Origins. And I agree with Tim there, because if that's what you want to go focus on, you can go focus on that, and you find Brant, and you're gonna have a great time the whole show. And you're not in a sea of people looking for what to do where, and where is everybody, and everything's spread out, and it's in this room, no, it's in this little room. I mean, you just go find Wargamer HQ at Origins, and that's it.
Yep.
And you can spend the whole show there.
Yep.
Well, I think some of that, if the shows cared enough to sort of build those islands of different kinds of games in their gaming halls, then you could do that without having somebody like me being a jerk to the Origins folks saying, damn it, put us all in one place. Like, right? I mean, we got that at Origins because I went and annoyed the shit out of the Gamma staff until they gave it to us, is really what it came down to.
Season 16 of Mentioned in Dispatches is underway, and we couldn't do it without our Patreon supporters, and especially the regimental captains at the top level. The Armchair Dragoons would like to thank Chris Anthony, James M., Brian Silcott, Chet Bell, Joseph Knorr, Paul LaFontaine, Miles R., Staggerwing, Fred's Dog, and Fred 2, Kevin Bertram, Michael Sunborg, Patrick Garrity, Catastrophe Games, Hethwell War Games, and Greg from Pico Armor. They help us to keep our objectives in our line of sight. You too can support the Regiment of Strategy Gaming as a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/armchairdragoons.
If the event staff at the different conventions, whether it's Gen Con or Origins or Adepticon or PAX, I've never been to PAX, so I don't know, but you go to the bigger event halls and it is very much a mishmash. And the bigger the event hall, the more chaotic it ends up being, just because there's only so much that the event managers care about trying to cluster all those things together. As I understand it, it was a little more intentional at Adepticon, where they kind of tried to group
Fourth floor.
Yeah, they tried to group similar types of games and the same game as much as possible in one place where they could.
They had a whole historical room upstairs at Adepticon, and it was cool. I mean, that's where you went if you wanted to check out the historical games. And I mean, it was definitely smaller than the multitude of Warhammer players and everybody else, but it was still cool.
Yeah. And I think at Historicon they kind of try to do that some with the different genres of the historical minis. I do know that last year they had it was either a large ballroom or a couple of connected smaller rooms that they set aside for an SPI focused little mini con within Historicon. They build it as SPI is alive, and there's a couple of guys that put together just a weekend program of nothing but old classic SPI games. They're doing it again this year at Historicon because Aaron Danis, one of the Dragoons, was there last year and wrote a big, well illustrated 2-part article about the SPI events that they had last year, and he's going back again this year because he gets to play a bunch of really cool old classic games, and he's gonna have some fun with it. So it can be done with that kind of theming, but you sort of need somebody to kind of grab the bull by the horns and take the lead and say, hey, we're gonna do this. In my mind, it shouldn't have to take somebody like me sort of making that happen. You would like to think that the event management folks would sort that out. They're busy. They're overworked. They got a lot to juggle.
Well,
okay, that sounds great, but the reality is it takes someone who's going to go and exert some leadership to go be annoying, to do all the things that you talked about, and that's exactly what you did, and that's why Origins Wargame HQ is the way it is. So you can say all this wonderful stuff. But but that's just basic leadership, and you provided that. So yes, it may get to a point where you have to turn it over to someone, but it is there because of you. So that's why I say thank you for what you did.
Yeah, and another key, Brant, is coverage. Like when you guys are going and sending people to these shows, it makes a big difference when an article comes out about whatever small indie game is being published. That is cool, whatever it may be, miniatures, board games, whatever, I don't care. But I mean, just because a lot of people don't know what's there.
Yeah.
Like you think Adepticon, you think Warhammer, and I can tell you there's a multitude, there's tons of other stuff there as well. but
Well,
nobody
it
knows
is,
about
and it is like 40%, 40K stuff. I mean,
if not more. Yeah.
It is a huge chunk of Warhammer 40K stuff. But you're right, there is a lot more, and that's one of the things that Jim Ozarski made it a point to capture a bunch of photos of.
Yeah, it's helpful to see it. Yeah.
David, very first convention that you were present at, like showing one of your, not like pitching one of your games, trying to get somebody to buy it, but hey, I've got this game, it's been published, let me teach you my game so that you can buy it from my publisher right here. What was it?
Spiel in 2015 or 16. I'd gone there the year prior and pitched a game. It was published by Queen. It was my first game called Armageddon. It's like a Euro, post-apocalyptic theme Euro game. So I went to Spiel for 4 years when I was living in the UK. So that's a very different world, very different, right? Obviously, night and day. And then when I moved back to the US, like within a month of coming back, there was a Gen Con where my game War Chest came out, and so that was like my introduction to Gen Con. Like Byron, you were saying your first experience as a publisher was Gen Con. Coming back to the US, my first ever American convention was Gen Con demoing War Chest, and that was a wake up. It was crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Here, let me just toss you in the deep end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Spiel is basically Gen Con. Like it's just instead of one vendor hall, it's 3 halls of absolute.
I think it's up to like 5 or 6 now.
I mean, it's more. It's like 7 or 8 halls, but there's like 2 really major halls.
Yeah,
and so those ones, with all the big vendors and stuff, are just like the vendor hall in Gen Con, where you're just trying to move through a sea of humanity.
Yeah, I saw Mike's article on Board Game Wire a week or so ago where they said that Spiel is now expanded into the last remaining hall in Essen that they hadn't already moved into. At this point, if they want to expand, they're going to have to get the convention center to build another hall for them to expand into.
Yeah.
Which might be, I mean, that might turn out to be worth it for them. Who knows?
Sure. Yeah.
But so Spiel was your first one, huh?
Spiel's my first, and then Gen Con in the US. So yeah,
that's a way to start.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow, that's a little crazy. Byron, what was the first one? So Gen Con was the first one where you set up as a vendor.
Gen Con was the first one. It was in 2008. Had no idea what I was doing. I had one game that was Frontline General. That was like this campaign system for miniatures. It was really niche within niche. And then it was kitchen sink design. I would never do it again, but that was the genesis of Spearpoint, and what I learned from showing it at shows like that, and all the shows that I was trying to sell it at. Like I went to Historicon after that. I went to Fall in Gettysburg. I went to some of the other shows in 08, 09. Met Mark Walker. Met Uva. I met some other publishers that were doing this, and the big point there is you see other people doing this when you're there trying to figure it out, and you learn a lot from them, right? Like Mark, and we're good friends today, right? And then you build those relationships, and you see and you bounce ideas off each other, and you're like, that's the real. It's not to go and sell things all the time, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm glad I went. I'm glad I had that experience, because it led to learning a lot about what to do. Because I don't think anybody goes into this saying, hey, I want to be an indie game publisher. No. If you want to make any money, you're not going to want to do that, right? I mean, there's other ways to do that. Work at McDonald's and you probably make more profit, at least for a few years. So the point being, Gen Con 2008, but that it takes persistence. And it takes a drive to just, hey, I want to figure this out. I got to figure this out. I have ideas. I want to get them out. I want to make games. I like doing what I'm doing. And then you meet everybody that can help you, because it's a tight knit group, when you can connect with these other publishers, designers, and now you're off and running, So yeah, all good stuff. But long-winded answer, Gen Con 08.
Tim, what was the first one that you'd set up as an actual, not working for Academy, but you with Catastrophe kind of out on your own? What was the first one you set up the booth at?
It was Grand Con, which is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it was 2018, I think, 2018, 2019, and it's smaller, and I've been to other cons working with UVA, so I understood that, but as an independent small publisher coming there, it was eye-opening from the standpoint that as me with a new game coming out there, and I only had one game, and I wasn't even actually able to sell it yet because I was just kind of promoting it. And it was just interesting. You got to really know your audience there. And it was easy to go to because it was my hometown, but I watched a lot of people walk by, and I realized that con was for Euro games, and they didn't really want. There was another poor guy over there, Gaddis Gaming, trying to do minis, and there were a few people, and he's a pretty good salesman, and so he was able to like rope people in there to play it, but they weren't there to. I don't know if he made any sales, but they weren't there for that. They were there for Euro games, and so then I realized that not all game conventions are the same, and I have to be much more selective about my time, about how much it costs to go there, and so on and so forth. So I was glad I went there. Haven't gone back since, but you learn.
Well, and you're getting to the point now that you may end up with a couple of games that you could take back there with the Lighthouse one that you're working on.
Yeah,
so, I mean, you've got a couple of them that aren't just straight up shooty bangy stuff that might fit a little better.
Yep, and so I looked at that. Now that's where like opening up a game store, like I'm going to have catastrophe games there because I can.
Because of course.
But it is not. I'm recognizing that a tiny little game store in a tiny little town is not going to be the place where I'm going to go out there and make it like historical game headquarters, right? I mean, maybe for the small area around there, but you have to really kind of get an idea for what you need to sell or what you want to sell there. And so I'm going to be having a lot of Euros, a lot of party games, that kind of stuff. So as far as that goes, I recognize that I just have to be, you just have to be careful. If you're there to sell something, you got to make sure that you have the right audience there. And I had the wrong one there, kind of like what you figured out when you were trying to sell your game and Brant, way back when. You just got to you do have to have some persistence on there, but you also have to recognize, every place isn't the same, isn't the right venue for everyone.
One of the other things that I learned a little bit the hard way, again, look, in my very poor 3-year attempt at being a publisher, a lot of lessons you learn the hard way. One of them was just because you can be a vendor somewhere doesn't mean it's the right place to be a vendor. And there are some conventions that, look, big ones like Origins and Gen Con and PAX and such, I mean, they're going to have big vendor halls. That's what they do. They've got larger ones. There are some mid-sized conventions that have bigger vendor halls than others. SensiCon, I was surprised with the photos that Merle sent us that we ran last week. SensiCon actually has a pretty robust vendor hall for a smaller regional convention. I was really surprised. There were like 60 booths, 50 booths in that vendor hall at SensiCon, which was kind of nuts. Buckeye Game Fest got like 8. I mean, and there's only 2 actual publishers that were there this year with Decision and Blue Panther.
Yep.
But, I mean, that's the stuff you'll see in the vendor hall at Buckeye Game Fest are a bunch of those lifestyle folks selling, bags with fun embroidery and, dice towers and whatever. They're not the publishers, manufacturers, the retail stores, that kind of stuff. What is now MythicCon used to be Mace. The first time I showed up at Mace, I was one of 2 vendors. And I was there because I knew the dude that ran it, and, we were getting some table space for some things we were working on, and he didn't charge me for the booth, so that was cool. But there were 2 vendors there. And that was kind of a waste because nobody was there to shop. Everybody was there to play.
Yep.
And now Mythic, when Jeff passed away, the Mace name passed on. Some other people have taken over that spot in the calendar around here and kind of taken over the contract he had with the hotel. And it is now called MythicCon. And they've actually got a pretty robust vendor room now that's got about a dozen or so folks in there. So again, as a publisher showing up, if you've got something that fits the vibe there, which is more tabletop games and RPGs and some sci-fi minis, not a ton. Colello and I went out there one year, just, we got a table as the Dragoons showing the wargaming flag, but we were the only wargaming happening anywhere in the building. We still had a good time, but the vendor room there had, a dozen or so, including 2 or 3 publishers. GaryCon, not a huge convention, but a big vendor convention if you're in the RPG space. So it's figure out kind of, not just are the attendees the right mix, but is there an expectation of there being vendors there? So That's
Yeah.
something that we figured out the hard way.
Yeah, it's so interesting because each one of these cons has like its own vibe, and not only is it like, okay, this is an RPG con or this is a minis con or whatever, but like I'll go back to Grand Con. There's a retailer there that his special is he is going to have a ton of games there, and they're going to be at deep discount.
Yeah.
And he's there every year. So what happens is a lot of the people are going there with big pockets, expecting to go get these cheap discounted games, and that meant that all the other vendors there really aren't super interested. Well, they're interested in selling, but the people there aren't really there for that. They're there for the big discount.
Yeah.
And so that has changed the whole vibe for how retail goes at that con. And it's just so interesting when you go out there and you look around, like I was saying, going to UConn, it's not a historical game con at all, but there's enough general gamers there that if you've got that out there, you're the only one. We have decent sales there. So it's just interesting to me how each one is different. And you have to really kind of know your numbers to figure out whether it makes sense. Like Origins doesn't make sense for me to go there to sell, because there's just no way I could make up the cost, the booth cost.
It's also gotten
there.
a lot more expensive. It
Yeah.
used to be where it was not like that. It used to not be that, and now it's just like outrage. They're trying to be Gen Con.
We're working on that. We're working on it. I can't tell you it's going to get worked out, but I can tell you we're working on it.
I just keep showing up as Dragoons and playing games.
Gamma keeps changing the damn staff. So if they keep the same person in place for more than 1 year, then we might make some progress on that.
Yeah.
Did we talk about leadership earlier? Some people do a good job of leadership, and some, not have way.
I got one other thing I was going to ask everybody about, but before I do, do you guys have any questions of each other? Like, I know that, Byron, this is your first time meeting David and Tim, but, I don't know if any of y'all, some of the things that have come up here have sparked any questions you guys might have of each other. I don't want to have.
I got one for Tim. What made you want to open a game store?
You want the real reason?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like one of those things, like you talk to any geek and like, man, someday I'm going to have my own game store, right? But for me, the reason why I ended up doing it is I bought the building because I needed the space down below to store games for my publishing side.
Okay.
And the intent was I had that space for me, for what I needed to do for catastrophe games. And then above that, I was going to rent it out to a Mexican restaurant, or who knows, somebody going to open up a coffee shop. I don't care. I just wanted the rent, right? Because that way I could have free space. Basically, I'd have the basement for free. How great was that? Well, about 6 months in, no one's renting this place. And so then I'm like, dang, I'm paying a lot of money for storing games here, as it turns out. So I got to go and do something different. And I went out and convinced the local bookstore that was in a tiny little postage stamp. I said, hey, you should move into my space. And she said, sure, I'll move in, but I can't pay the rent because it's way bigger than what I need. I'm like, I went back to the drawing table and I said, how about this? How about you come over there, you pay the same rent you were paying before, you have more space, but in the corner, I got to be able to have some game tables and sell board games. So that is the backwards way that I have become a board game store, I guess, owner. I mean, she's still going to be doing like checkout and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to be running events and cool. Christopher's going to tell me, Christopher High's my partner, he's going to tell me how I should be running it, because I know I'll be doing it wrong. And he'll be very quick to tell me the right way and the wrong way, and I will learn from Christopher how I should be doing it. But that's how I became a board game store owner, I guess. There's no direct path, all indirect.
Anybody else?
Well, sure. I got a question, because I understand the general hobby gaming. I understand historical gaming. Things I don't know. I don't know card games, but I got people who are going to walk me through that, because apparently you got to sell cards at a board game store, or most of them anyhow. But I don't understand minis. I mean, I see them over there and they look so cool. But I don't really understand, like, I looked into a little bit about trying to sell Warhammer, and it's just so hard. You got to do this and that and the other thing. And it seems like a hard path, but how do people sell minis and turn that into like something that works at their game store or their area? Is it mostly online that people are getting them, or are there stores that go out there and make it happen?
There's Stores.
asking
Yeah.
for a friend, right?
Right. No, I would say there's stores that definitely have a more miniatures focus. You'll see mixed, you'll see a Magic the Gathering focus because that brings a lot of people in. You'll see Warhammer. And we've got a local store called Tap and Roll. It's in Williamsburg, and they're expanding now to a second location. And they've done really good hybrid approach with shelves of board games, with gaming space, with Magic releases, and then they got a little section that has Warhammer stuff. And they have a little bit of everything, and then they do a good job with having events at the store that, like, Monday is miniatures night. So if you want to play minis games, come bring it. And we've done that. We've gone and shown some of our stuff there and just had a good time. And just random people will come, hey, what's this? And it's exposure for people local. And then if we were to, I'm not selling anything. If they want to buy anything, I just tell them, hey, it's on the shelf.
Yeah.
And then the store gets so if you can bring people in that way and get kind of on a routine, like the typical with Magic the Gathering is Friday night Magic. I mean, that's a very common thing. And then, however it works for you. But I think the key is drawing people into the store, and they're going to shop for whatever. And they may not know that they are interested in a board game. They're there for Magic, or they're there for Pokemon cards. And then they see this cool thing on the shelf. Hey, let's check this out. And then, hey, there you go. Now you got an indie gamer potentially, right? Or somebody buying a Euro game. And I mean, but understanding miniatures, I'm still trying to do that. I don't understand it. We're making the games, but they're cool model. A big part of the miniatures culture, I would say, is the painting hobby, the visual aspect of it, because you see a lot of time and stuff and just skill spent painting and just getting really good at it. And that's a big part of the hobby for people, and just showing off that skill a bit. I mean, there's competitions for it, there's judging, there's so it's not just about the gameplay as much. I mean, it is about the gameplay for sure, but that it's also about the presentation of that game. And you see that with historicals, you see it with sci-fi, you see it with fantasy. So it's all genres of that. And the people who are really proud of what they've created, and these days with 3D printers, you can have a resin printer or an FDM printer, and you're printing literally your board, you're printing your terrain, you're printing your models, and it may be your own design, and then you paint it, and then you bring it to the table and say, here, this is mine, and use it with an agnostic system. And it's just a big, cool sandbox, really. So I don't know. I think the culture is different for sure. There is some crossover, I would say. I mean, you'll see minis players that also play board games or card games and historical hex and counter games. I mean, some people are just everything. And then some people are just, I only play Battletech, or I only play Warhammer, and everything else is dead to me. That's fine too. So, but
Tim, one of the things that makes a big impact around here is that there is a big minis club community in our area here.
Yeah.
Triangle Sim Society probably has 250, 300 members.
Wow.
That they'll have quarterly game days. And again, these guys are not sponsored by or organized by a store. The different stores in the area will host game days for them. They'll be able to make arrangements to do things at the stores, but the club is organized separate from any of the stores. There just happens to be a big minis community in this area, in part, I think, because they're better organized than the board gamers in the area. I'm convinced that here in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill Triangle area, we easily have as many tabletop gamers as they have in the Columbus, Ohio area. The difference is Cavs has a 30-year head start on getting organized, whereas around here we suck at getting organized. And so it's everybody's got their little game groups and their little corners of the world, and they are perfectly happy just living and dying with that. And there is no unified collective of tabletop gamers the way there is in Columbus. Now, that said, there is nowhere else in the world that has a club like Cavs. There's literally nowhere else in the world that has that. So that's not a big surprise. But the minis community around here is really well organized, and so the store that we primarily hang at, Gamers Armory, has a big mini section. Not a ton of historicals. It's a lot of Battletech and 40K and Sigmar. And they had a lot of War Machine stuff from Privateer Press for a while. That's fallen off a bit. They have a lot of support for that in terms of like the paints and the crafting supplies. But they also have regular days that are on the store schedule for folks to come in and play the mini stuff. They have an entire terrain room that is nothing but pre-built 4x6 boards with some with terrain already bolted on them, but then a bunch of shelves that have terrain that you can just pull off the shelf and play with. If you go look up, so folks, as you're listening to this, if you go look up in our FLGS Spotlight article directory on our site, Gamers Armory is one of the ones we did pretty early on. You can go take a look. There's pictures of the terrain room in there where it is a small storage room. It's about a 10 by 10 storage room that's got a dozen or so of these pre-built warboards is what they call them. And then shelves of terrain that you can go use and throw out there to be able to play. The other main hobby store that they use here in town, their primary business is actually like remote control stuff, remote control airplanes and cars and such. And they happen to sell a lot of historical minis, not just historical, but they do a lot of Battletech, and they have a ton of Warlord stuff. Bolt action, Pike and Shot, Hail Caesar, all of the Warlord lines. It's crazy. I really think there is more Warlord product on the shelf at Hangar 18 Hobbies here in town than Warlord has on their shelf at Origins.
Wow.
Seriously. I think it's that packed with Warlord product, which is insane to say, but I legitimately think that's true. They just happen to be really well organized. And so if you've got some sort of club or organization that you're able to bring in and sort of give them a home to play in, then that helps expand the footprint.
I agree.
And I think that makes a big difference for those guys. So the thing that I wanted to close with, and we're running a little long here, but that's because Tim wanted to ask about like how to make his store successful.
Yeah, blame Tim. Yep, it's all
Absolutely.
my fault. I take back every nice thing I said about you and your leadership.
Okay, Colonel. So the thing I wanted to ask is, if you were putting together sort of your perfect game convention, what are the 2 or 3 things you want to absolutely make sure are there, and what's something that you absolutely do not want there at all? And so as you're sort of envisioning, hey, if I were, not that you're trying to run it yourself, but if you were putting together what would feel to you like a perfect game convention to show up at, David, what would that look like for you?
Oh, wow. Well,
I had to start with somebody, man.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fine. That's totally fair. It can't be too big. I mean, for me, that's definitely a big piece of it, right? It's keeping it, my happy spot is like the Circle DC, the SDHIS. So we're talking like 150, maybe 200 people max, just to keep it small. I already mentioned this, but like the gaming to me is secondary. So the events that I look most forward to is like the night before SDHIS kicks off. There's always a sort of an informal social that I really enjoy. So making sure that people that get there early are tracking that type of opportunity. One thing, so I was just looking at the event schedule for Circle DC, and I think like every single event is fully booked, which is super awesome. And this isn't a problem, but you can get into a situation where you get to a convention and pretty much everybody there gets there and they're all in a scheduled event and stuff like that. So I like the idea of having plenty of like opportunity for people to have pickup games, right? Yeah. So now how you organize that and ensure it, that's a challenge, obviously.
Organize pickup games.
Yeah, I know that's a challenge. So I don't know really even what that means, but having people around that are helping out with the convention that have, games that are easy to get into. And you mentioned this like in your example with the parents that come over. But at Origins at the Armchair Dragoons section, I mean, if you have games that are like very, very accessible with good table presence, like a Memoir 44 that's easy to drop into, it would be nice if you have families that are walking by with kids that it's drawn to and have the ability to actually just allow people to play. Right.
Yeah. That's Sergeant's Minis game back when Lost Battalion used to come to Origins, and they'd set up the Sergeant's Minis game in our section. That thing stopped traffic every time.
Right. Yeah. So just trying to be a little bit intentional with the ability for allowing people to be, somewhat flexible and open to getting into game. I know that's a big challenge. I think those are the important things to me. I mean, there's some like not intangibles, but things like lighting and sound and stuff that are nice to have too. Right?
Yeah.
But,
well, it's funny you mentioned, capping it around 100 or 200 or so. BGF is trending closer to 500 at this point.
Now, BGF is a different thing because they do such a good job with partitioning off the war game area.
because we have the war room. We've got our own separate space.
You can you could go to BGF, go to the war room if you chose to, and never interact with any other part of BGF. And you would basically just think it's a room of whatever that is, 30, 40 guys, people playing, war games. So if you wanted that experience, that's there for you for sure.
My experience at every BGF.
Yes, that's pretty much what I did this year. I think I went over to the main gaming hall just one time this year.
My demo tables were in the main hall, so I would go demo stuff and then come back.
Yeah, and then run like hell. Byron, designing your perfect convention. Like, what are the couple of things that you would want as sort of your perfect convention?
Okay, so I was writing notes while thinking this out. I got to think it out. I've never been asked. But start small, like you guys said. So start small.
Yeah.
Like, let it grow on its own. Like, don't force it too much, right? And then a location where family and maybe if you have kids or whatever can do other things too. A good location where it's not just a hotel somewhere, right? There's other stuff to do. And that includes availability of food nearby, whether it's a food truck or multiple food trucks or restaurants or something where people can eat. That's kind of helpful. Cool swag and raffles and stuff like that is always good. Reasonable prices. Make logistics easy for everybody. Be organized. Have a plan for vendors that are loading in and out. Without marshaling yards, please. And then lots of staff and volunteers. And I like a good game library where anybody can go just try something. Yeah. Lots of open gaming space where you're not just taken up by events, but also easy to get into events, like you said. Like, have games where people can come in and out, can join or whatever. And then I would say less tournament focus. I mean, a lot of cons, especially miniatures cons, start with just we're going to make a tournament con, and that brings a certain crowd. That brings a lot of people, but that's all they do, right? And so those
may not be the people you want to hang out with either.
Correct. So, and nothing against them, right? Those people, I will say, but and there's a place for that. But like, if that is the focus of the con, it's not as fun for me at least, because maybe just because I don't like to do that. But I don't know.
He is not here, but I guarantee Jim Ozarski is heartily agreeing with you about down with tournaments.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Tim, what about you?
That's easy. Go to PunchCon in Coventry, UK. It's about 200 people. All the gaming is in one area. Breakfast and dinner are at the same location, and it's buffet. And so you get to go hang out with people you've been gaming with. Easy to just jump into a table, like, hey, what are you playing? And chat, and why do you have a funny accent when they talk to me? Then you go out there in the game and just go out and grab a game. There are some events, but you can jump in there as well. And then at noon, the side window opens and the bar is available. And so you can just go and grab a pint and go to your game and have a grand time. Wash, rinse, repeat. I had a fantastic time there, and I would love to see that in the U.S.
I'll give you one side note on that real quick. It's another Adepticon example. When it was at Schaumburg, they had a guy, maybe multiple people, that literally had a bike with a big basket with a bell, and he would ride around the convention. Vendor hall, gaming spaces, and he'd ring the bell, and he had a cooler full of beer, and he was selling it right out of his cart, and it was the absolute best thing in the world. Yeah.
Seems completely legit. I can't imagine that the local constabulary would have any problem with that.
They were part of the.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
They were good with it.
Yeah,
but they don't do that anymore.
They're
in a different place now.
They moved from Schaumburg to Milwaukee, and they don't have the same. But the other good thing that also makes it perfect is Adepticon staff every year, even this year, brings in for all the vendors a pallet, if not multiple pallets, of Girl Scout cookies. And every vendor gets 2 boxes or a box or whatever it is every year. And they make an announcement, and it's so great because we all know about it. And Shelly will come on, or Dustin, he'll say, vendors, you may now come and pick up your box of Girl Scout cookies.
I'm sure whatever Girl Scout troop
they all go away.
It's so great. And they're gone. They're gone in like...
That's awesome.
So,
that really is cool.
That's perfect.
Surprised that didn't make your list.
It did now. So
Okay.
that's what I'm going to end with. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Tim, I'll tell you, if you make it down here to a fall assembly while we're still at the VFW, they do have a canteen. So we're in a small building out back that we control the hours on because we've got the key to the door. But the main building up front has their canteen in it, and they've got it's pub food, right? So it's it's chicken sandwiches and corn dogs and pizza and whatever. But they've got a reasonably well-stocked beer cooler up there that you can grab some beer and take it back to the cottage with you. So you can go up there and grab a drink and bring it back to the table with you, and that is totally fine.
You are really selling it to me. So that sounds very intriguing.
People keep coming to me all the time. Hey, Brant, what do you think about the Dragoons doing this? Dude, that's a great idea. Let me know when you want to do it, right?
Yep.
I've learned the art of saying no. It took me a long time to figure out how to say no to things. But yeah, I'm happy to say no. If you want to do it, I'm happy to let you do it. Guys, thank y'all very much for being here. I know we are long on the time here, and I'm not going to blame it all on Tim because
I appreciate that.
We're all fine talking conventions whenever. So I know as we are recording this, so David, I will see you in, a couple of days.
Yeah.
Tim, I will see you and David in a couple of months still, but we're getting close to where we're counting weeks instead. And Byron, I don't know when the hell you're going to make it down here, dude. One of these days.
You got to come up here. Come to Richmond. Come to Nova. Do something.
Yeah.
North of the line.
Yeah. Nova might be possible. I'll have to see. It might be worth looking into Southern Front again, not like bringing the booth down here, but like showing up and getting a table and running a couple of games one day because we're close enough. You could even make a day trip out of it. Just get up early Saturday, come down here, do everything, and drive home Saturday night. It's a long day, but it's a day.
That sounds really painful, Brant. I think that I would probably get a hotel.
It's in a hotel. Like the hotel is.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm not driving back then the same day. I'm getting too old for this stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, I've done Charlotte and back for some Mace events before where I did all that in one day. My back doesn't like doing that in the car that much anymore.
Sounds like I'm crashing on your couch. I'll be there.
David, thank you for being here. Tim, appreciate it. Byron, thanks for making your podcast debut with us, especially on short notice, guys. It's
Thanks
great.
for having me.
Audience, this wraps up season 16 of Mention and Dispatches. So this concludes our spring season. We're going to be back in the fall, so we'll be wrapping up a bunch of conventions. As we normally do in the fall, we will have a couple of things that are sort of standard that we're going to cover. We will talk about the solo game survey. We'll have Liz back to talk about that one because we do that survey at the end of the summer every year. So we'll have the results to talk about when the fall convention gets here. We are going to talk fall assembly stuff because that's one of our key events that we do in the fall every year. And so we're going to cover that as a part of it. So you can count on those. Assuming the CSRs actually, finish getting ready to be done in time for Origins, because they better. We put Gary on the schedule for the CSRs again this year. We will probably have an episode talking CSRs, and then we'll see where else the podcast goes. So for now, appreciate everybody being here, and we'll catch you next season on our next season of Mention and Dispatches.